Hello everybody, my name is Paul. I work for a company called Micrographics in Cape Town, South Africa, and we are an Autodesk partner. In this short video, I'd like to look at Civil 3D and specifically the color schemes that we can use on surfaces to evaluate them. So just to give you a bit of context over here, we do have a site, and that site is quite close to the ocean here in Cape Town, and a very large portion of Cape Town is essentially at sea level, and so flooding is an issue on most of the sites in what we call the Cape Flats. Shown over here is an existing surface, or what we just refer to over here as FGR, and we would like to have some or other way to evaluate what, or just to make design decisions on what the elevations are. So on the surfaces, I'm going to set everything to no display, switching all those surfaces off, and then I am going to create a brand new surface, and I'm going to call that FGR elevation banding 2D, and for the style I will use the elevation banding 2D style. And go yes. This is an empty surface until we paste our FGR first, essentially making a copy. And immediately we can see this heat map, and to gain an understanding of what this heat map means, we can insert a surface table. So the table itself doesn't show up. Memory serves me correctly. One will just have to run on the surface properties the analysis once, and then the table will update, giving you the elevations at the separate colors, at the various colors. Alright, so that's standard practice. The question now becomes, how do we manipulate these colors? Again, it's well known that you can go to the surface properties, into this analysis, and then however you generate the analysis, there are different ways for you to do this. Let's suppose you do a range and an interval of 1 meters and datum elevation, say, of 2 meters. You run that. Now you can see how you get a red and a green analysis. That looks a bit different. So now red is lower values and green are higher values, and dark red are at a higher elevation than light red. So light red is the lowest and dark green is the highest. The other way to visualize these colors, you might think, alright, so how do I change green and red to some other colors? It might be through the surface properties, and it isn't. You might think to yourself, can I go through the legend? And the answer is once again no, it doesn't happen through the legend. What about the elevation banding style that we've used over here? And there we can see an analysis for the elevations, and there's a range color screen right there. And so if we want to change this, we have to change it in the style itself. Currently it's set to rainbow, and that's for a number of ranges. If we do what we're busy with at the moment, the range interval with datum, then you can see that it's set to greens and reds. Notice what happens if we go, say, for argument's sake, with blues. Okay, and then let's run the analysis again and apply. Then we can see the update on the screen. That's what that would look like. If we had to swap this, again, that is on the style, and let's swap out for the elevations the blue with red and the reds with blues. Let's run the analysis again. Now we can see that a light blue is quite deep and a dark blue is shallow, and then we go to the elevations. So to my mind it doesn't flow very nicely, the colors that you see there, but there are other ones that we can try as well, and where we can try that is from this elevation setting over there. Let's try and see what a hydro would look like over there. That again, it's the elevations are going deep. To my mind, a deeper blue being a deeper elevation would be nicer. And so the lesson to take from this is that you might get the colors better, and then you would need to do a bit of work so that you'll have to swap the colors around. So if you go to the surface properties, you'll have to go to the information. Unfortunately, there's no, you can't say it's going up or down. So if you ranges within the interval datum, there's no ascending or descending for the surface elevation. And so you'll be reduced. You'll have to then go to the analysis and go and change these colors around, unless you make peace with having to read the information as light blue meaning a deep and dark blue meaning shallow for your, say, your negative or your flooded areas. You can click on that item and start off with a blue hue and say you're going to go from something that's dark to light. That color over there is 140. It sometimes pays just to have a look at the number of the color. So that's 140, that's 142, 144, and that goes through until 178. So you could always just start swapping the colors. That's 178, and then go to the next color over there. That's also a 178, 178. That's a 176. That's a 166. And then lighter 156. 156. That was 146. And so you'd have to go lighter to 144, 142, 140, and a 138. Yeah. 140. Let's try 141. Right, and that then might indicate 141. Strangely, I prefer the 140 before the 141. There we go. Now a darker blue means deeper and a lighter blue means shallower. That to my eye looks a lot better. So you might have to do a bit of work just to get the display to work for you from a visual perspective, but hopefully I've now shown you how you can change the two hues by going to the surface style and then running the analysis on the ranges. You can then manually swap the colors across. And then of course your table will update. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the short video and that you can use these color schemes to evaluate your surfaces and guide your design. And until next time, enjoy Civil 3D.